2% battery. I gotta hurry. And freaking yeah. Okay, we gotta hurry. Okay, okay. Getting into the next aspect of this, I thought of a possible rewrite that we might like going along this time loop idea. So I would have already rewritten Two Blue Vortex in this way, to where the prologue is about revealing that this hasn't just happened once or twice before, but maybe the darkest future is the Shinju evolving, getting the chakra fruit, and the planet gets destroyed. They can't go to the moon or any other scenario. Everyone on the planet dies, and the whole universe dimension collapses. And through whatever shenanigans Boruto and Kashi and Koji have going on, they can go to an alternate universe, different dimension. The way I would write this specifically, just starting off, is I would write to where there's only a certain amount of dimensions, so they can't do this infinitely. So I think this would be a brand new theme I would introduce into the story, is that at this point, Boruto just wants, at the end of the day, to save a timeline. It doesn't matter if it's this one or the next one. He just wants the best possible outcome, best possible chance of being able to save everyone. In doing so, that unlocks his character flaw. Because what that means, with this prologue, what I would do, of the first like 3 or 4, maybe 5 chapters of Two Blue Vortex, I would have it to where Boruto fails and that timeline gets destroyed. And then he goes into the new timeline, this alternate universe. So this is where the story would really begin, because Boruto's been doing this so many times. Let's say there's 60 dimensions. Boruto's done this 58 times. He can still restart one more time. Where I would go with this story is that Boruto wants to save Sarada and everyone else. I'm going to use Sarada, just have a tangible, specific character. Boruto will eventually realize that things are going the same way they have been going, and that it would just be easier to restart just for the greater good at the end of the day. But in doing so, Boruto is essentially giving up on this timeline. He's giving up on this Sarada. But Boruto's going to eventually realize that's a mistake. This Sarada is important because this Sarada matters. Or at the very least, it matters to this version of Sarada. Even if it's more risky, I would prefer to risk this universe and the next one if it means the possibility of saving this one. So he will reject the possibility of restarting the timeline for the lower chance of saving this one, because he can't bear at this point, once he realizes his flaw, to see another version of Sarada dying. Even if it, because even if it would lead to the higher chance of a Sarada living in the future.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's in ReZero too. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh, I saw season 1.
Yeah, the MC goes through a similar development at one point, because he kills himself to restart, and then it's like he realized after killing himself a bunch of times, once he sees like what happens after he kills himself with other timelines, he realizes like what happens when he just like leaves these places to restart, and he's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna make sure that I'm not doing this just like willy-nilly restarting timelines. Like, I'm gonna focus on the ones that I can save. I feel like something similar could easily come to Boruto.
In this case, it's not Boruto destroying the other timelines, it's the other timelines being destroyed and Boruto leaves. But with this 58th or 59th try, he could try again in the 60th universe. This 59th universe hasn't been destroyed yet. It just looks like it is going to lead towards that. And so it's risky to stay here instead of just guaranteeing that he can try again in the 60th universe. Because if he stays here, Boruto might also be destroyed, which means that 60th possible last universe doesn't even have a chance in the first place, because Boruto's the last surviving hope or whatever.
Finite universes might ruin my autoversal Shibai scaling, but that's cool.
That's funny. Well, he transcended dimensions, which scales above universes, so there you go.
For real.
But Kamui, what do you think about that whole rewrite?
I mean, I like the idea. I can't say if I prefer it or not because I haven't seen
That's fair.
the actual one, but I like the idea because, like, well, it's kind of like, it's not the exact same thing as the ticking time clock, but it kind of is. The point is he's running out of chances, which I think is good, because like we complain about this with Sasuke.
It forces a change.
Exactly. There's no time for saving these Shinju people right now. It's just kind of like, oh no, but like, does it matter if we save it today, tomorrow? We don't know. In this case, it's not a direct time, it's an indirect time clock. It's like chances that, you know, I'm on my last life kind of thing, which is effectively the same point, really. It's just a slightly different application.
I'll also clarify, again, this isn't the final universe, which is very important. It's like the universe before the final universe. And I also don't want to have it to be unlimited universes, because that also just, I feel like, takes away from the impact as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The point is that there's only one try left or whatever.
Yeah. But also, I do want this to not be the second or third try. I need Boruto to be used to this, for this to be his ordinary world. Again, going back to like the whole emotional aspect of like, it's the greatest strength and the greatest weakness is humanity's emotions. And so, ironically, this kind of parallels the beginning of Shrek 1, to where it's easier for Shrek, I know, this is stupid, it's easier for Shrek to live a lonely life in his swamp because he's rejecting the pain of that might come from the vulnerability of opening himself up to love, which is what pained him in the first place. So in this case, Boruto, this is his ordinary world. He has gone through this so many times already. In fact, that's what led to not only his strength, which explains that, but also his change in demeanor, his change in characterization.
Yep. That's in my video too, actually. I talked about it. I was like, at the end of Boruto chapter 80, he doesn't really like seem like the Boruto and Tubu Vortex, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, they seem like two different people, and like it would make sense if like Boruto is weary and tired from doing the same thing over and over and over and over. It would make sense for like his more, I don't know, down to earth. Even when Sasuke kind of got like treed, he didn't seem that upset. He just held his master sword. He was like, I got this. That's literally what he said. He's like, I got this. So I was like, you know, it makes total sense, to be honest.
At the very least, there was some experience that changed him. Like, you can't just have him change for no reason.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they could, but they shouldn't.
And I don't think Sasuke is enough, because Boruto's seen plenty of people die, and Boruto didn't even die in this case. And you've seen important people die, not just randoms.
Right.
Sarada dying
like
is a good
Yagura
one.
literally died in his stance.
I mean, with this hypothetical, I like the idea that Sarada keeps dying, and that's like why he's like, just don't die, because he's like hoping that this time she won't die or something.
Yeah.
In fact, you could write it to where it's already in the current timeline too late, to where because in the past maybe he's come closer and closer every time, but again he gives up on it before taking that final step forward, which is the risk of guaranteeing, well, not guarantee, it's the risk, but it's almost paradoxical to say it, the risk of guaranteeing it to be safe. He's making sure the next one has a higher % chance by making sure he stays alive, which gives up on this universe. But if he stayed in this universe longer, this universe has a higher % chance, even if it's not 100% guaranteed. That could also be a thing, is he's only going until it's 100% guaranteed, and unless he can guarantee it, he just goes to the next one. But I don't like that as much. In principle.
I think an interesting thing to play with would be, just as a hypothetical here, if every time Boruto tries like and restarts, it's because I'm gonna make up a couple hypotheticals. You don't have to use the specific ones, but maybe he's trying to make it so that everyone survives. But it's one of those stories where one thing does need to get sacrificed, whether it's Sarada, it's Boruto, it's Kawaki, Konohama, whoever. It doesn't really matter here. The point would be he could be trying every single time to save everyone, but like, and because of that, the whole world gets destroyed. So at some point, he has to let go of something. Whatever that something ends up being doesn't really matter for this conversation, but he has to let go of something. And until he does, they will always fail, type of thing.
And so, again, I like the idea of him getting closer and closer every time, but that means he's farther and farther away towards the earlier times. I think it'd be cool to get like a flashback towards those earlier times. So for example, in the very first timeline, what if he just never knew Code was going to invade the village, so then Code kills Sarada, and then it just goes downhill from there. Then in the second timeline, he knows it, so he goes there. This also removes the fact that he knows the future, because he only knows the events he's seen from the past future, technically, in the present. So it removes the possibility of it because it's already guaranteed. He knows it's going to happen. He's seen it happen himself. So in this case, the first timeline is Code kills Arda. Second timeline is he gets there to stop that, but he doesn't say don't die. So then a Shinju eats Arda. Second timeline goes downhill from there. Third timeline, he says don't die, and in this timeline, Hidari kills Sarada. So then we get to this fourth timeline is where we would currently be at, to where Boruto's saving Sarada, and it would just go from there.
Yeah, that's valid.
I like the idea.
There's
so much to
definitely a
talk
lot
about
to
with
work
time skip
with.
theory. Yeah.
Koru, did you have anything to expand on that, or did you guys want to move to another topic?
Man, I mean, there's so much to talk about with the time loop theory. Like, there's just so much shit you could get into. On the topic of like who we would have to sacrifice, I mean, that's just like such a